everybody, I'm Beebs Kelley. Welcome back to another video. Recently, somebody left a novel of a comment outlining all the times that they felt the media had bullied Meghan. Well, it's time to fact check that. I've poked an awful lot of holes in this person's argument. The Daily Mail published numerous articles focusing on Meghan's racial background, career as an actress, and previous marriage. Well, that makes sense, doesn't it? Somebody marrying into arguably the most popular royal family in the world is going to have lots of articles written about their ancestry and heritage and lineage, just like every fiance prior, as well as their previous career, their family, their education. All of these things are going to be points of interest because people are curious, they want to know who this person is, they want to get to know them. Plus, it was literal news. Many people, myself included, had no idea Meghan Markle was mixed race. And while some articles did cross lines of what was appropriate or acceptable, I wouldn't place Daily Mail in that category necessarily. As for running sensational headlines, when do they not? This is standard practice. Ask any celebrity or public figure. This is how it goes. It sucks, but it is just how the media sells things. As for portraying her in a negative light, that would arguably be subjective, up to the reader and their opinion. Also, there were some things going on way back at the beginning that were raising eyebrows. For example, several of her roles in film were not great. She basically played an extra who is promiscuous in a few movies, to put it that way. And she had begun calling the paparazzi and giving interviews and telling people she was Harry's girlfriend, so she needed a special table at a restaurant and things like that, way back when they were just dating, which showed an unappealing side to Meghan, that she was courting media attention on purpose. Meanwhile, Harry was issuing moody statements saying people should leave her alone, and baseless claims that she was being bothered when she was actually seeking out media attention. The claim that Daily Mail criticizing her fashion choices was bullying is so categorically wrong. Reporting on factual stuff is not bias or bullying, let's be clear. As for these claims of negative comparisons to Catherine, that is also subjective. Were they negative or were they just comparisons? It was natural to compare the two women who were of similar age in relatively similar roles, married to the brothers. Also, Catherine had set a really high bar, and Meghan was not taking help or guidance, and thus was falling short in the public and the media's eyes. This, again, is factual. It all depends how you look at it, whether you take it as super negative or not. Opinion pieces written questioning Meghan's suitability for the role were once again caused by Meghan's bad choices and were fair. There were reasons for it. She was not behaving like somebody who was prepared to take this job seriously. Meghan either misunderstood or didn't care about the role that she had. She jumped in too quickly and was by all accounts very difficult to work with. She came off as rude and was trying to make changes before she even learned the job. Remove her from the magnitude of royal life, place it in some other context. Say she joined the senior staff at a really big, important, public-facing company and started breaking rules, doing things differently, rejecting guidance, rejecting stylists and assistants. In less than a year of being there, had basically fought with every single other member of staff just because she wanted to do things her way. You wouldn't be defending that person. You'd be telling them to cool it and take a year or two to learn the ropes, learn to work with the rest of the staff and company, and then suggest changes or try to do things differently. That's what you would tell somebody in a different context. Why are we trying to change it just because it has to do with royal family work rather than a company's work? The monarchy is a complex situation and system, but when it comes to those senior royals who do work, it is just a job where you have requirements like any other job. Dress codes, expectations, you need to be punctual, you need to show up and do the required things. Be personable, don't hold hands, things like that. This commenter claims that in 2019, Daily Mail focused on Meghan's pregnancy and parenting. Hold on. She and Harry left when Archie was just a few months old. Maybe a year old? So not so much parenting. Pregnancy, yes, often in a critical tone. The Sun ran stories about alleged difficult behavior and strained relationships with palace staff. Standard. The Times published detailed accounts of supposed rifts within the royal family involving Meghan. Again, standard. If there were other members of the royal family rifts with each other, it would be reported on. Prince William and Prince Harry's rift has been reported on extensively. King Charles and his relationship with Harry has been reported on extensively. It's not just Meghan here. They're not singling her out. But it is standard to focus on a royal pregnancy. Obviously, that's something people get excited about. As for a critical tone, it was largely, once again, brought on by Harry and Meghan themselves. They did weird things during the pregnancy and around the birth of Archie that upset the public. Remember, at this time, they were working royals, meaning at least part of their lifestyle, their home, their livelihood, their needs were paid for with taxpayer-funded monies, including their security. So just to name a couple of things that didn't sit well, they broke tradition by refusing to announce the birth in a standard manner. I could make an entire video on the fumbles that occurred in announcing the birth of Archie alone. It was a hot mess. But also keeping things like the godparents and the christening super secretive and private were criticized because of this dynamic that's the tradition and they're breaking tradition. They are royal family members representing the monarchy as working royals, partially funded by the taxpayer, and they're being weird and playing media games and trying to profit off of it themselves. It was very strange, very odd, all broken protocol. So it makes sense that there were critical articles written. The people felt, and the media reflected the fact that the people felt, since they support this couple, that their approach to the pregnancy and birth of Archie ended up feeling rude. Now things get even more silly. The claims that extensively covering the Oprah interview, focusing on Meghan's allegations of racism, criticizing her actions and statements during the interview and the broader implications, none of that is bullying Meghan Markle. All of that is just reporting on this thing that she did. That was super crazy. Furthermore, the racism allegations were so unbelievable, it fascinated people. Why would she say such a lie? Why would Harry and Meghan let such a lie sit? They've even admitted that it wasn't true in later interviews, walking back those allegations. In fact, at least 17 statements from mostly Meghan, but also Harry, were proven to be flat-out lies from the Oprah interview, and even more things were exaggerated, mischaracterized, or inconsistent with previous statements. So of course he'd be criticized for that. The Oprah interview deserves every ounce of criticism that it got. There is a reason why it is so impossible to find. Taking a negative slant to Meg's media projects was because they were garbage. The interviews were self-absorbed, unlikable, often included complaining, and often included lies. Archetypes was objectively horrible. Of course it was criticized, just like any other podcast would be. Her appearances were criticized because she was showing up at things and doing things that didn't make sense where she didn't belong. Or if this person means her appearance in general, that was criticized because she rarely dresses for the occasion. Sometimes she doesn't even dress for the weather. So yeah, that's going to be noticed and people are going to wonder what the heck that person's doing wearing a sundress in the middle of winter. Meghan's advocacy and charitable work leaves much to be desired. There is an occasional one-off statement or activity after which the cause is completely abandoned. Their foundation only gives a tiny percentage to charity, and I have yet to hear any solutions, reports, or education out of Archewell that is having a meaningful and positive impact to any cause that they claim to support. Scrutinizing her relationship with the royal family and public statements that she's made is because of either their timing being extremely conspicuous or because she continues to attack people who have remained silent and not fought back, not even once. It's because she's bullying. She's often lying and exaggerating. It's ridiculous. That's why there's a negative or critical tone aimed at her about her statements and her relationship with the royal family. The media in general is fairly negative because when something's going wrong, it catches our attention because that's not how it's supposed to be. So the media often reports on problems, things that went wrong. And yes, they sensationalize the headlines, but once you read the article, it's very anticlimactic most of the time. As for seeking a life away from the spotlight, that is false. They have courted media attention more than ever. They have revealed more private details, feelings, and conversations than ever before than they did when they were with the royal family. They are the leakiest people to ever have been associated with the royal family. Harry and Meghan did not leave to seek a life away from the spotlight. They left to be able to seek out the spotlight as they wished. The negative portrayal of this couple, and in particular Meghan, in terms of this comment here, is actually quite accurate. They've delivered very negative views and statements steadily since they were working royals. They're complaining often and discussing their problems over and over, sharing their dissatisfaction repeatedly. They've created this tone for themselves by choosing to share such things. They're not sharing something that was a struggle and how they solved it. They're just complaining or pointing at problems and telling you how scary that problem is or how bad that problem is. They're not creating positive news for themselves. They're creating more negative news for themselves because they're always spouting their negative viewpoints on things. As for the Markle family situation, I think it was dealt with very poorly by Harry and Meghan initially and by the Markle family since. But don't ignore the hypocrisy there. As far as Thomas collaborating with tabloids, so has Meghan Markle constantly, much more often than Thomas had. He did it once. Meghan does it all the time. So if you're going to try to use something to defend Meghan, make sure it's not something that she herself does. What's really more troubling here is that somebody who has lied about other public figures for their own attempts at gains and tried to make money by publicizing such lies and invading the royal family's privacy has managed to find a small percentage of people who actually believe such lies. That's much more troubling. I hate to break it to you, Shy. The bullies are Meghan and Harry, not the media, not the press, and not the royal family. Meghan and Harry have repeated that they feel the media has been unfair to them so much, so often, that some people have started to believe it, especially those who have not paid attention to this saga from the beginning and don't know the history here. But with a little research, it's very easy to see that that is not the case and who the actual problem people are. Now it's time for the question of the day. What kind of eye makeup do you recommend to those who wear glasses? Well, I wear glasses. I just also wear contacts a lot of the time. And I would say not much different at all than when you're not wearing glasses. If you want to make it look like your eyes are more forward, make them look a little bigger, because sometimes your glasses can make your eyes look a little smaller or farther away, sort of. So if you want to combat that and sort of bring them forward, make them look bigger or make them stand out more, shimmer shadows are going to do a really good job of doing that. They definitely bring the eyes forward, make them look a little bit bigger, especially lighter colors. It doesn't necessarily have to be like glittery shimmer, just something that's a little shinier or has a little bit of sparkle to it. That will help make your eyes stand out a little bit more. But as for eyeshadow placement or eye makeup shapes and patterns that you may do, it really just the same as if you don't wear glasses. Choose something that's going to complement your eye shape and choose colors that are going to complement your eye color. So for example, I have blue eyes, so warm toned eyeshadows tend to complement that really well, make it pop more. So browns, peaches, tans, blushy colors, things like that are really warm. If you don't want to do false lashes, then I recommend you curl your lashes before you do your eyeliner, because lash curlers can smudge your liner. So curl your lashes, apply your eyeliner, and then your mascara. That'll help accentuate your lashes, make them look longer and more open, kind of brighten up your eyes, make them look a little bigger and make them pop more. But if you want more detailed tutorials, I think that Wayne Goss and Robert Welsh have some of the best content for makeup and makeup tutorials. So I would check them out. If you really want to learn more eyeshadow placement for your eye shape or how to deal with hooded eyes or things like that, I would highly recommend their content. They have so much content. You'd definitely be able to find some good tips over there. I hope that helps, and thank you so much for joining me for today's video. If you have a question you'd like included for question of the day at the end of a video, please leave it in the comments section. Thank you so much again. I hope you have a happy day ahead, and I will see you next time. Bye!